The next show we're going to be talking about is Isekai wa Smartphone Tomo ni, or In Another World with My Smartphone.
So this was mine again. And like, okay, this got me intrigued kind of right from the get-go too, because it kind of puts one of those ideas in my that I've had in my head, scenes, because this is a familiar setup of this one, but the idea that they kind of continued with it had something in my head of like, yeah, what if that was possible or something like that? Anyways, this one, the synopsis for goes, Toya Mochizuki was accidentally killed. Yeah, I'm just like, wow, accidentally? How did you do that? And as an apology, God allows him to be reborn in a fantasy world and will grant him any one wish he desires. And so Toya chooses to keep his smartphone in the next world. In his second chance at life, he befriends many important figures and comes across the world's secret. He inherits the legacy of an ancient civilization and travels around nonchalantly while possessing powers that rival this world's kings. Just wow. That's just wow. So, but as I was saying, you know, we've already seen an anime like this before. Yeah. Well,
no.
I wasn't thinking of no.
So parts of it are ReZero with the cell phone, and then other parts are.
Yeah, you forgot that one too.
Oh God, what's the name of it?
I think it starts with a K. I want to say
it's the funny one.
Yeah.
Freaking Studio Dean.
Yeah. Okay. We both know what we're talking about, and it's gonna probably kill you. I'm just gonna forget about that because otherwise I'm gonna smack my head thinking about that one too. Anyways, what I like about this is, okay, so don't get me wrong, I like that one that you were talking about, the one from Studio Dean, but I think sometimes the ridiculousness of it got to be a little too much, where I'm just like, okay, come on. Because that was the one where I'm just like, come on, you're supposed to go kill the Demon King. You haven't even left the starting town. What are you doing? This one seems to be a little bit more kind of serious because it seems like he's accomplishing things and doing things. And see, I told you it started with a K. But like, this is an idea. Okay, so even though in ReZero he did have his phone, it wasn't really functioning. Like, it still had like the functionality of the phone, but he couldn't do anything necessarily with it. Like, couldn't call out, couldn't look things up on a smartphone. Because like, it just literally was, he could use an alarm and he can use it as like a light essentially, or to tell the time, as what pretty much the extent of what he could do with it. This sounds like this guy had the idea, I want to keep the phone and have it fully functioning.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a smart man right there. Hey, you have the world's information at your fingertips. You could know absolutely anything and everything, and you're taking it with you. So, hey, awesome. You know, he could download apps to do whatever he wants to do, you know, maybe different languages, and he could be like, oh, I can translate that. Yeah, sure. Here you go. You know, so some kooky, crazy things like that. You know what I mean? So this has always been one of those ideas in my head, and I'm like, why didn't anyone else kind of think about doing something like that? Just take your smartphone. So, you know, it's not like it isn't a thing in all of our cultures and what we all use now these days and whatnot. So, but then as it goes on and talking about how he befriends important figures, learns the world's secret, and becomes more powerful than this world's kings, I'm like, damn, you did something right. You know, and it doesn't seem like necessarily in the branch of Overlord, where he's just like, you know, powerful and, you know, has all these abilities and stuff like that. It seems to me like since he did what he did and taking the smartphone with him, it's probably he gets to where he gets simply because he uses his mind, his cunning, and his, you know, brilliance in whatever he does. Hopefully he's not kind of like, you know, a jackass about that and being all pompous or whatever. Yeah. If he's that kind of character, it's going to kind of ruin it for me. Mm-hmm. But as long as he's a character who's kind of fun and easygoing and whatnot, and still has that kind of brilliance about him, then I think this is going to be a pretty damn good show.
Yeah.
So, and it's done by Production Reed. I think haven't we seen something from them or no? It kind of sounds familiar. I'm just not 100% sure.
Okay. So they've done one of my favorite, my very first Cute Girls Doing Cute Things show, Strawberry Marshmallow. They've done a lot of stuff. Like, they worked on Sailor Moon. Vampire Hunter D, Macross, Handmaid
Okay,
Lane.
so yeah, they got some pretty decent ones under their belt here. So
Yeah.
I'm hopeful. Obviously, the cute girls doing cute things. You can see from the actual little picture they have on AnyChart. Yeah, it looks like it's probably going to be a harem situation because he's got a lot of girls hanging around him and whatnot. But regardless, hopefully, I got some hopes for this one. I think it's going to be a nice fantasy, and I feel like it's going to definitely diverge and enough away from God, I forgot its name. The other anime. Yeah, Konosuba. I feel like it's going to diverge enough away from Konosuba that you're not going to feel like it's too like cliched with that, you know. So I think I have some hopes for this. Let's see how this goes. So
okay. Well, for me, it seems like it's going to be fantasy, so that's one of my weaker genres. Yeah. And the one thing that I'm curious about is like, how serious is this other world? I'm like, are the characters intelligent and he is very smart, or is he just a normal guy and everybody in this world is just dumb? And he just kind of just stumbles into being the king of the world.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully he is very smart, because I know those are the characters that you love. Another thing is that I didn't know what studio that did this, and it's a studio that has a huge pedigree, like a lot of great shows behind them. So I feel that it should be good. I know a lot of shows that I've loved in the past, and when that same studio comes out with a newer show, they're kind of making it to appeal to certain people to make money, rather than like making shows
sticking to their guns that they can actually do something really good with.
Yeah. So from the look of it, I feel like it's a show that might be pandering, but I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt because they've done a lot of my favorite shows. So
yeah. I mean, at least you know if they did Vampire Hunter D, at least you know they can do some action.
Yeah.
Because that was some pretty good action in Vampire Hunter D, I want to say. That sounds highly intriguing.
Okay.
Like, they're talking about special customers. I'm like, special as in how? You're not really defining that, because they talk about the demons that appear when people wish they could turn back time. It's such a simple thing. And I think everyone in their life probably has thought about this.